Hey, it's Cass from Cardlens. Happy 2022 to everyone. Wanted to take this opportunity to look back 1 year at the data we've seen in the GPK Sapphire set. As we ran the numbers, we realized that this turns out to be an $8 million set, which is really intriguing. We'll talk about how we got to that number throughout the course of the video. Now, this video was initiated by a comment a viewer sent me around the prices of Atom Bomb or 8A cards. They've noticed that over the past few months, prices have gone from roughly $100 down to nearly 50 and now south of $50, about $45. So it prompted the question, what does that mean for the health of the set that we're all collecting here? Well, whenever I get a question like this, I kind of like to zoom out and look at the overall health of the card market first. And to do that, there are two indices that are really helpful. The first is the PWCC index. They have a few different ones. The first we'll look at is the 100 index. Now, these are your blue chip cards. These are your $500,000 cards, your $1 million plus cards. But certainly those who are tracking the industry look at this first to see the overall health of the market. These are 100 particular cards that PWCC has been tracking since 2008. And the good news is you get kind of this rich data set where you can see trends over time. So if we look back at the past year, for this index, you see that it was at 397% at the beginning of the year. As February and March came around, certainly there was a very rapid increase in prices, and you can see that reflected here in the index, and then somewhat of a leveling off, but it's telling that this PWCC 100 index did not really dip down significantly over the past 3 to 4 months. Slightly, but not significantly. If we widen the sphere just a bit, you have the PWCC 101 through 2500 index. Now, these are cards with a market value of between $500 and say roughly $50,000. There's 2,400 of them, so it's a much broader spectrum. And if you take a look at this particular index went from 115%, peaking roughly 237%, and it's still near the peak, a slight dip down to 224%. So there's a couple graphs to start. Now, I've actually moved over from PWCC indices to card ladder indices. I think they're putting together a really rich suite of indices that are helpful for thinking about the overall industry. First, they have a high end, they have a mid end, and a low end index. I'll show you what that means. So the high end is equivalent to the PWCC 100, right? These are your $500,000 to $5 million cards. This particular index has gone from 12,810 up to a peak, kind of mid-year, let's say around here, of about 30,000. And then it steadily has continued to climb to about 35,000. But of course, the GPK Sapphire is not in that sphere. It's not in that realm. Let's try the mid-end. These are cards that are roughly your $5,000 cards, give or take. So think of maybe an Atom Bomb GPK Sapphire purple card, for example. This particular industry follows this more characteristic pattern, which you may have seen in pricing graphs over the past year, which is you have this rapid increase at the beginning of the year, peaking right around late March, and then a pretty steep decline going into late summer, and then a slow decline from there, right? So the peak was, say, 15,000. This particular index is now at 11,483. Next, you have the low end. So here, a little more rapid climb from 3,800 to 5,500, a more rapid decline down to 4,200. And in fact, at 3,287 right now, it's below where it was at the beginning of the year. This particular index is probably the best one to look at when we're answering the question about what's happening with the GPK Sapphire set. That's because this is made up of three-figure cards, kind of your $300, $400, $500, $600 cards, which is equivalent to, say, a common red or purple parallel, or maybe a PSA 10 Atom Bomb base card kind of is in that range. So we start to get close to what the price is. It's also in the order of magnitude of what the price is of a complete set for GPK Sapphire. So keep this pattern in mind as we return to more data around the set itself. Let's look at the atom bomb chart again. It started out at the beginning of the year at or near the all-time high, dipped down to about 50 bucks sort of in late spring, then continued a pretty rapid climb to at or near the peak towards the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, and then back down again to where it's at right now, about $40 or so. Nasty Nick, similar in that there was that peak at the beginning of the year, a little more waviness, throughout the year, but Nasty Nick also at an all-time low. Blessed Billy, a little flatter. Evil Eddie, a little flatter throughout the year. And then the lots of the star cards have kind of trended upwards, but you definitely see a little tick down towards the end of the year. So these star cards certainly follow a pattern of being at or near their all-time lows. Let's take a look next at the set. So we refreshed this data just a couple days ago. This tracks every single sale of a complete set throughout the entire year. As you can see with the star cards, it started out at or near the high, and then kind of leveled into that $1,000 range and stayed that way throughout most of the year. And now we're kind of back down to about $900. So for the complete set, you're closer to the all-time average in price right now. What about boxes? So here's some new data on boxes. Unfortunately, in eBay's TerraPeak tool, you can't go back to before the year, but as you may remember, these boxes retailed for $50, right? So when the data picks up on January 1st, they're already up to $202, which was in the first couple weeks of the boxes being on eBay. Then it began kind of a steady climb to a peak of, say, about $550 on average, and then kind of set into that $475, $500 mark for most of the year, and now it's back up again to $550. So interesting to note that the sealed boxes are actually at the peak, at the all-time high right now. You see the same pattern when you look on StockX. StockX is another place where sealed boxes have been sold at scale over this past year. Again, you see that characteristic pattern towards the middle of the year, getting to the peak, a little lower than the peak for most of the year, and really we're right back at the peak for sealed boxes. Finally, let's take a look at parallels. Parallels, I have noticed that the teals in particular have dipped down a little bit recently, but when you zoom out again at the entire year, you see this unabated pattern where the average sale price for each parallel level continues to increase and increase. You see red now at 444, purple at 262 all time, gold at 194, etc. Now I will say we actually didn't look at this data for about 4 months. We last looked at it on September 1st. So between September 1st and now, likely if we had tracked it, it probably went up a bit to a peak and back down a little bit, I'd say, particularly for the teal and the gold levels. But really, the take-home message is from the beginning, each parallel level has continued an unabated increase in price over time. So now we get to compare these curves with the curve we saw on the card ladder index. And you might be saying, well, what about base cards? I mean, base cards are really driving this set. There's 166 of them. There's a robust secondary market in the base cards, and we've actually put together some new data around that, which we're excited to release. So what we did is we went into eBay TerraPeak and we calculated the average sale price of every single base card in the set. Let's zoom in a little bit here. So for example, 1A Nasty Nick, the average sale price for that base card has been $30.09 over the entire year, and they've sold 161 of them. Just to take a look at how we did that, here's the query that we entered into TerraPeak for card number 4B, and the results kind of show up right here, along with kind of a card-by-card rundown of what's sold. So we pop that here into the spreadsheet, and as you go down, you can see a card-by-card rundown of what the average sale price was for every base card over the course of the year. We also captured the total quantity sold, and if you multiply those two together, you get the total sales volume in dollars over the course of the year for that particular card. So for example, $4,845 of Nasty Nick has been sold, $15,822 of Adam Bomb, Potty Scotty, $364 worth of Potty Scotty, etc. The final thing we added is the base market cap. So market cap is simply what is the print run multiplied by the ASP. You're starting to see market cap show up on Card Ladder and some other places around graded cards to talk about the total value of all cards in that grade. So this is similar to that in the sense that this is the total print run multiplied by the ASP, and you get a market cap, for example, of $150,000 for all 5,000 Nasty Nick 1A cards. We did the same with parallel. The calculation here is a little bit more complex, as you might imagine, but really this just adds up the value of every parallel copy. So let's take 1B, Eviletti, multiply the 99 teals and the 50 greens, etc., all the way up to the 1 Pod Parashas, and you get 77,000 as the market cap for that. Now, as we go down, here's where we get to that number we teased at the beginning of the video. So if you add up the market cap of all the base cards, you get to $4.2 million. And if you add it up of all the parallels, similarly $3.9 million, which certainly sounds like a lot at first blush. I was surprised when that number kind of calculated out. But the more you think about it, the more it starts to make sense. So let's take a look at, for example, of going back to, where are we? These calculations right here. So here you see the base card market cap there, the parallel, added together, you get about $8.3 million. Another way to calculate it is looking at boxes. So there were 15,936 boxes produced. The current average sales price of that is $550 per box. Multiply that together, you get $8.7 million. So you really are in that same ballpark for the total market cap of the entire set, every card in the entire set. Note, of course, that the retail price was $50, and look at that delta there, going from $50 to $550 is pretty impressive. Also, when you look at all sales of every Garbage Pail Kids Sapphire listing on eBay in 2021, it sums up to $1,692,000, a very impressive number. And that's, again, in that same order of magnitude, the same ballpark as the $8 million market cap value of the set. So note that this does not include sales that happen on Facebook or other secondary markets. So you start to approach that same level. So wanted to kind of round it out with this right here, which is right now live. There's about 1 day left on the Atom Bomb Pod Parasha card. It's currently at $20,000. There is a reserve on this, and actually it's been up for auction 3 times already in 3 successive weeks. The bids have peaked at $34K, $30K, and now $36K. So whomever is auctioning this is certainly looking to achieve a reserve that's much higher, or at least higher than what we have right here, 36K. So when we, again, think about the context of the entire market of this set, I know this particular card was a focus of many people during breaks. It was a focus of a lot of people when talking about, well, once this card is found, won't box prices go down? But really, the 36K number, as high as it is, let's say it ends up going for 50K or even 100K, that is kind of just a drop in the bucket when you talk about the overall market cap of the set, which is super interesting to me. I mean, this is truly a collector's set. People certainly have been participating in breaks, certainly have been trying to complete rainbows and parallels. But when you think about the foundation and the groundswell of everyone trying to complete the set, of buying and selling base cards and trading base cards to complete the set, that Pod Parasha, that Atom Bomb, um, Pad Parasha is really just kind of a drop in the bucket when you think about the overall market cap of the set. So if you have 50K lying around, here's where you can place a bet for that particular card. So rounding it out, what are the takeaways from this particular video? We're going to leave the data up on our blog for the base average sale price for every single card. So you can access that to kind of easily price your listings, trade with friends. Maybe you're trading cards, you want to know what an equivalent trade is, or maybe you're just buying and you want to know if you're buying at the right price. The average sale price for every single base card will now be on the website. The average of all the cards is $7.43, so you can use that as a nice kind of back of the envelope number. The range of all the common base cards is $4.89 to $11.34, and when we look at the star cards, we traditionally look at 1B, 1A, 8B, 8A, but actually 54A can be considered in its own right as the fifth star card. So for those cards, you're talking about $21 or $22, $26 for Blasted Billy, $30 for Nasty Nick, and $73 for Atom Bomb. So one takeaway is that at $73 all time average sale price and the current price of the card being about $45, now's probably a good time to buy an Atom Bomb card if you're looking to buy one at some point in the future. Same with Nasty Nick. The average sale price all time has been about $30. Right now it's down to about $21. Now's probably a pretty good time to pick up one of those. Other takeaways, right? Parallel and base each make up about half the market cap. That's an interesting balance. I think my perception has always been that the parallels have driven a lot of the business, a lot of the buying and selling, a lot of the interest in this set. But clearly this is a collector set with a lot of people collecting the base set and the base cards. Again, the stars do make up a significant portion of about 17% of the market cap, but the other 83% are from the other characters. So again, lending to the argument of this being a collector set. Boxes are at an all-time high, parallels slightly below their all-time high, but they continue increasing over time. Sets are near the all-time average, I'd say, of 900, kind of slightly below the all-time average. And then 8A and 1A, like I said, an all-time low. So you might want to look into picking one of those up. In next week's episode, we're going to be taking a close look at grading. So just introducing some basic data around PSA, BGS, and SGC, and also kind of options 4 and 5 in CSG and HGA. So if you're thinking of grading GPK Sapphire or really any other card, we're hoping this data and this analysis will help you make a decision about which one to do. So look forward to releasing that data. And also, we've got a lot of exciting stuff going on in our app that we're building. We're focusing in on the GPK Sapphire set and hope that a lot of the data and functionality in that app will be useful to you as a collector. So that's it. Again, this is Cass here from Card Lens. Really appreciate you watching this video and all the feedback you leave in the comments. Send me an email if you'd like, cass@cardlens.com, if you have any other topics you'd like us to cover. And again, I really hope everyone has a happy and healthy New Year and 2022. Thanks, everyone. Take care.